Welcome back to the grind for some exciting gameplay with rank 4 Knull in map 8 Alliance Quest. Now, unfortunately, this is just day 1. This is off season when I was running the Recoil Tree Masteries with Liquid Courage and Double Edge, so the damage is higher and the sustainability is higher as well. But there was limited time for me to use him in the various aspects before the season started for War, because he's going to be on defense. But the path that I'm taking here in the first stage has Armored Assault, so anytime they get an armor up buff, they will be unblockable for the duration of the armor up, and if you don't hit them frequently enough, they're going to get a permanent armor up, but Knull can remove them with a simple hit. Medium attacks will remove armor up buffs as well as apply Living Abyss. Now, you can also take advantage of that miss mechanic from the node, but a lot of times those don't typically allow for the easiest use of what they're meant to be. Anyways, we've thrown one special one. We're about to get the corruption active. I did mess up the timing there and get smacked, but that's okay. We were unstoppable and unblockable, so I threw the next special one into the block to finish off the fight. Now, yes, it is day 1, so the health pools are lower, but we're just doing special 1 twice in a row and it's done. If the health pools are higher, then we would go to a special 2 for the next hit, and that would more than likely finish it off. But the fact that he's so sustainable and has so much damage makes him a great option for Alliance Quest, especially depending on the path that you're on. I did speak to somebody recently who specifically assigned themselves to a certain path so that they could rely on Knull and just have a blast with Knull every day in Alliance Quest. And I do kind of wish I could bring Knull in every day, but I feel like he gets more benefit for the team on our defensive team in War. So here is our second special 2. The degens almost tick him down. We did get some regen out of it as well, and then one heavy attack to finish off that fight. The next fight on the path is Silver Surfer, and most of these fights are lasting about 45 seconds. And again, this is day 1, so maybe a minute on the more challenging days, but for an Alliance Quest fight to take only a minute is fantastic, especially because you might have 15 to 20 fights in a day, and to have to commit 3 to 4 minutes per fight is just absurd. And I had to do that a couple times with other champions I've been testing out, and it's just not fun. You want to be able to finish these fights off as quick as possible, because this is a daily requirement for you if you are playing in a competitive alliance, doing these challenging alliance quests. And so you want to be able to manage these as quick as possible, and Knull really can. Look at that second special one again, finishing off the fight. Now, we did also have to deal with a Killmonger. Killmonger is interesting because every debuff that he gets, he's going to be getting power, but I prefer to push him to a special 2 anyways, because I don't like to deal with that counter punch charge. I oftentimes will manage the opponent's AI by attacking into the block and baiting heavy attacks if needed, and so being able to push him easily to the special 2 is actually quite nice. So now we're going for a special 1 here. Unfortunately, I had a bit of a delay and threw it into the block, but the nice thing is the encroaching corruption still triggers even if you throw it into the block. Now, you did see an armor up go, but I attacked into the block and was able to remove the armor up, which means that he was no longer unblockable. And then, of course, I ate a special 1 to the face just to show off his sustainability and regen, and we got to do some regenning from that special 1 there while the corruption was active, and then the fight is almost over. There's why I don't like the counterpunch charges, because I just pushed him into an unstoppable, and then we finished off the fight pretty quickly after that. Of course, if it was day 4 or 5, it would have been more punishing taking those hits. But we can heal back in future fights. This is another fight on the path. It's one of the shared fights against a Sentinel. And the nodes are that I cannot gain more than 1 bar of power, then I will be power locked, and then the opponent gains extra power up to special 1, but then after that, they're going to have decreased power gain. So we can keep attacking into them a lot and be very aggressive if we prevent them from throwing a special. There I ate a special to the face, once again to showcase his sustainability, of course. And if you're doing these fights, you can hold block to discourage them from throwing a special 1 if you would like to, but for champions that the special 1s are pretty easy to deal with, you can just bait them out, obviously. And there we go, finishing off with a second special 1. And this is another shared fight in one of the future sections, this section 2, with aspect evolution and power alternators. So when that timer expires, if I have more power than the opponent, then it's going to be switched over to them. And what can be the worst case is if they throw their special attack and then you can't use your power by the time it ends, then they're going to throw the special attack and automatically get power back, which can be very annoying to deal with, especially with Aspect of Evolution, because then you're going to be giving them a lot of power even with a single combo. So there we go. We throw off our special 1. We're building up more Living Abyss, and then we throw off another special 1 there, unfortunately right before the corruption activated. So we didn't get any healing or degeneration off of it, but now we're building back up to another special 1. I'm trying to bait out special attacks here, which is kind of annoying when they don't do it. And I think now I just decided to push him to 2 bars of power and try to finish off the fight with this special 1, and the degenerations ticked him down just enough to finish it off. And then this next fight is against Guardian. There's nothing special about this fight. It's the one before the boss, so you get the pre-fight. I just wanted to skip ahead to the second special 1 to watch that degen damage ticking, and then eating another special to the face, obviously, and then finishing off the fight. And then lastly, I did take him in against Nimrod to see how we would do. It was a very sloppy fight, a lot of mistakes, and the fact that Nimrod isn't affected by armor breaks is another factor, and that he is immune to bleed. So you're going to be losing out on a lot of damage that Knull can do. And so it's not an ideal fight, but with the sustainability, then, Knull could be a potentially decent option. However, when you play like a scrub, then that's not ideal. Another factor is it's hard to keep the corruption active, because if he throws a special 2 and he gets the unstoppable buff, then that's a long time that you're going to be having to wait out the corruption. And to manage that, I would parry and do a light attack while the unstoppable was up. I'm not even sure how to make an excuse for the misdexing of that special 2, because it's not challenging to dex, and it was way off when I did dex it. And as you can see with those armor breaks, we're not actually doing any increased damage. So that is definitely a downside to using Knull here. And the fact that when the corruption is active, we're also not getting the burst bleed. So Knull is losing out on a lot of his base damage potential, and the fact that the unstoppable keeps triggering when we push him to special 2 is meaning that the corruption keeps expiring. But as you can see, that even though we took some damage right at the start and we were pretty close to dying, we have healed back a substantial amount of health because of the poison on us from Liquid Courage constantly healing us because of the decreased potency that Knull has, that resistance to poison as well as bleed. So he's constantly regenerating health, not to mention when he throws the special 1s and converts the armor breaks back into Living Abyss, you get the healing as well. So he is very sustainable and could get through the fight, but with my endless amounts of mistakes, I did end up taking a lot of damage throughout, and then we ended up messing up right near the end in the last 20-30%, I think it was, and ended up dying, unfortunately. But now I've decided to build up to a special 3 and just go from there, since the armor breaks aren't really doing anything, and I'm having a hard time keeping the Living Abyss, or the corruption, active, I should say. We're going to go for a special 3 because that's going to give us a longer corruption. Not that it really makes a big difference, but it will allow us to have the armor breaks up longer and potentially take advantage of them and convert more of them into regeneration as well as degen. So we parried and we're going into a special 3. So after this, we can then just go in and start doing some damage, throw in some medium attacks as well to get some healing. And then I lose track of the bubble shield charges. And so that is the sad part, that is how I end up dying, because he ends up going unblockable and then killing me. But I hope that this was interesting to see some Knull in map 8 Alliance Quest. He's very sustainable, has tons of damage, lots of utility as well. Could be good for multiple paths. So I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next video.